1, 2, 3. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I just got back from Russia to California. Feels so good to be home. And in the past 3 weeks, I had four flights. 2 of them were 12-hour transatlantic flights, which means that I had a lot of time to read, actually listen to audiobooks. And when I travel, I like to listen to something that is really light, like detective stories, because what happens, I start listening to them at the beginning of the flight, then I fall asleep. Sometimes I will wake up because of like the time difference. I would get back to the story, get back to the plot, and then I would just go back to sleeping. I highly recommend those kinds of books to you guys because they are very relaxing. You don't have to concentrate all the time and they really help you pass the time. One of the books that I've read was The Flight Attendant and the second was Behind Closed Doors. Both really good, but that's not the topic of today's video. The topic of today's video is actually the words that I've written down for both me and you, because those words were quite new. Well, I've heard them before, but I've definitely never ever used them in my life. Some words I didn't even know the meaning, so let's learn words and expressions that they don't teach you at school, because they're very conversational and very advanced. Expression number 1, salt and pepper hair. And this means that the person already has some gray hair, but still has some of his old color. This is called salt and pepper hair.
Wow, salt and pepper?
The next expression is for hours on end, which means a lot of time. A good example is one of the songs by Norah Jones. It says, I rode a train for hours on end, which means I rode a train for like a lot of time.
Debate for hours on end.
Face value. Face value is the value that is printed on the coin or on a stamp. So for example, a stamp says 25 cents, but because it's an old stamp, it can cost $50. So the cost of this stamp is $50, but the face value, the actual value of it, is 25 cents.
More than its face value of $15.50.
Full of vim and vigor. This expression means someone is full of energy and very enthusiastic. Vim is a Latin word. Again, it means being enthusiastic, being energetic. If you talk about someone who's really like on something, doing something with a lot of energy, you can say he's full of vim and vigor.
Our lives shall be filled with vim, vigor.
Credulous.
Credulous. The next word is credulous, and there is an expression, strained credulity. A credulous person is a person who's really easy to trick. It's an easy target for scammers. So he believes everything, whatever he or she said. Credulous person.
Because my credulous fan-pelt spirits are smoke and mirrors.
Strained credulity is when you're trying to be credulous, but you're like still hesitating. With strained credulity, I gave him my money because I was kind of not trusting him, but I still gave him my money. I was allowing myself to be credulous.
It would strain credulity at that.
Profanity. Profanity means swear words. When someone is swearing, you can tell them stop being profane, and profane is an adjective that comes from profanity.
The profanity is another issue.
A bit of a stretch means a light exaggeration of what's actually the case. I'm not fond of taxes either, but it's a bit of a stretch to claim that they're the cause of all of our problems. So you cannot tell that all of the problems come from taxes. It's a bit of a stretch.
Be spooked into breaking your leg, that's a bit of a stretch.
Crank out, to produce something in large amounts. This blogger is cranking out videos every single day. Like he's making pancakes, like video after video. Crank out.
I just crank them out and make some fast cash.
With hindsight. This expression means that you are talking about something in the past and now you realize what was actually the right decision. With hindsight, I would have not taken this job. Like if I knew before, if I knew how it's gonna turn out, I wouldn't do that at all, but well, it's too late. With hindsight, and sometimes people say in hindsight.
Which in hindsight turned out to be an error.
For the time being. I've heard this expression so many times and I kind of understood what it was, but sometimes it makes a lot of sense to actually write things down and look for their description and look for their definition, because sometimes they have slightly different meaning. With profanity, I didn't know that that was swear words. But this expression, for time being, I actually thought that this is like for good, forever. But it actually means for this present time and until something changes. Like, I'm gonna live in San Francisco for the time being, which means for now, like for my current goals, I would love to stay in this place. But something might change in 5 years and I would move to Abu Dhabi. I don't know. So for the time being, I'm in San Francisco.
For the time being, Your Majesty.
Anything but. This is a little confusing. Again, I love relying on songs. One of my favorite songs by Avril Lavigne has this line, "I'd rather be anything but ordinary, please."
I'd rather be anything but ordinary, please.
Which means that I can be anything in this world, but I don't want to be ordinary. Like anything, like weirdo, freak, great professional, but not ordinary. Anything but.
Anything but this.
Very American expression, if things go south. We associate south with the downward direction. So things go south means if things go bad.
If things go south, I will call you. I promise.
Uncanny. This was a new word for me, and it means strange or mysterious. Uncanny.
Uncanny.
Hang someone out to dry means leave somebody in a difficult situation, just leave and abandon them and not help them at all.
I'm not gonna hang him out to dry.
FOMO, F-O-M-O, fear of missing out. This is very Silicon Valley. A lot of investors, a lot of deals here are driven because people have this fear of missing out on this next big thing, next Facebook, next Instagram or whatever. I've recently watched, highly recommend an HBO documentary about Theranos. There was this lady from the East Coast, came here to Silicon Valley, went to Stanford, and she started her medical startup that they're gonna draw one drop of blood and will be able to perform like hundreds of tests on it. Nothing worked, but somehow she raised over $800 million, tricked all of the investors, tricked the clients. She's currently going through a court process. They might put her in prison. But yeah, really interesting how very smart people from Stanford, from the government, from like all of the top authorities stop making rational decisions because of the fear of missing out. They thought Theranos was this next big thing and they didn't want to miss on it, so they just invested without actually checking if the technology worked. Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out.
Drink a Kool-Aid. Did you drink a Kool-Aid? Means that you believe in a dangerous thing. Potentially dangerous thing. This expression actually comes from the pseudo guru Jim Jones, who had his own cult, and he made 900 people commit like public suicide by drinking a drink which was called Kool-Aid, and this is where the expression comes from. So if you drink a Kool-Aid, means verbally that someone is tricking you to something potentially really dangerous. Did you drink a Kool-Aid? No.
I'd like to leave before people start drinking the Kool-Aid.
The day was young, or the day is young. So for example, you wake up in the morning and you're waiting for some news and there is no news. You can say the day is still young, which means we still have the whole day to hear from somebody we're waiting to hear from or get the news we're waiting for.
Is the day so young?
That was it for me for today, guys. Small announcement, if you're still watching this video, I know you're a true fan and you appreciate my new products. I've redone my book on the US admissions. It's like a complete guide for everyone who wants to study in the US. The link will be below. There are also additional materials like a list of universities in the United States that provide full financial aid. There are my personal statements, my resumes. This is like a I wish I had it when I was doing my admissions. It's like a step-by-step guide, what you should do today, what you should do tomorrow, how do you reach out to universities, and how do you achieve your dream of studying in the United States or Canada. It's applicable to both countries, though Canada has a little less financial aid than the US does. But I think it's a really helpful book, and we have a lot of students who read this book and got accepted to their dream university, so fingers crossed for you. The link will be below. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next educational videos. Bye!